How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. And today we're going to talk about a character that goes back 70 years. A character that predates video games, definitely, because it goes back 70 years. And a game that was originally licensed to a Disney character, but because of a lot of weird stuff with licensing, had to be passed on to the character that we're talking about today. This game was published by Kimco, and it's honestly one of the better things that Kimco published on the NES. Today, we'll be talking about Snoopy Silly Sports Spectacular. Say that 5 times. Now, Snoopy Silly Sports Spectacular is actually a riff on a PC title called Alternative World Games or Sportsorama, depending on what part of the world you live in, which did a whole bunch of childlike renditions of Olympic sports. But in Japan, where this game originally was released in 1988, the game was titled Donald Duck because it starred Donald Duck, Daisy Duck, and Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Donald's nephews. Well, when it was time to bring this title over to the US, because Capcom owned the rights to produce NES titles featuring Disney characters at that time in the States, this title couldn't happen in the States. So Kimco had to come up with an alternative. And they sought out Peanuts characters, specifically Snoopy, Snoopy's brother, Spike, and Woodstock, Snoopy's best friend, the little yellow bird that flew upside down all the time. And it turned out perfectly fine. This was actually a great fit for those Peanuts characters. The game takes place entirely in Italy. And Snoopy and Spike compete in 6 different events: sack race, pogo, boot throwing, a river jump, a tug of war, joust, combat type deal called Overboard, and pile of pizza. Now, the only one of these events that isn't exactly based on an actual Olympic event is Pile of Pizza, because you're literally just walking across a particular distance with a stack of pizza. And you can adjust that stack of pizza up or down and try to avoid them falling. The sack race, it's basically a head-to-head race between Snoopy and Spike, with Woodstock pulling up the rear, and if anybody falls too far behind, he pushes them ahead halfway to kind of keep them in the game, while avoiding manholes. River jump is basically pole vault. You're vaulting across a river. If you don't hit the timing right, you'll stop halfway and fall into the river. Boot throwing, throwing a boot for distance, kind of like a javelin or what's the thing? Shot put or hammer throw, something like that. But yeah, all of these different little events are cute. They're designed pretty well, considering that Kimco, honestly, for all the cool stuff that they put out, like Rescue the Embassy Mission and Shadowgate and Deja Vu and Uninvited, this was the most purely action-oriented thing that they did at the time. And it was the closest thing to a sports game that they had ever done on the NES. and it worked really well. I was surprised at how well this worked. Controls are pretty responsive, the characters are charming, the environments are colorful, the music is lively, it's serviceable, it's, of course there's no like Linus and Lucy playing in it or anything like that. But it's good video game music, especially for these events. This all works just fine. And thankfully, this title is pretty inexpensive. If you want a copy, you can get a copy for probably about 10, 15 bucks, something like that. Nothing too crazy. Complete copies you can get about 30, 40 bucks if you want one. But yeah, this is a fun little alternative to more serious Olympic style games like track and field and stuff like that. And I thoroughly implore you to try this out if you're a Peanuts fan or not. This is a fun little title, it's a cute little title, and it's a great way to spend an afternoon if you want to play something a little different. This has been the 8-Bit Animal, and I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow. Tomorrow? Wait, I use the zapper to do what now? What in the Child Protective Services is going? What?